Want a quick 10-minute wrap-up of the week's compliance news? Well, this is the podcast for you, 10 for 10, where Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, wraps up 10 top compliance stories which occurred over the past week. If you don't know, Tom has a daily news podcast, appropriately called the Daily Compliance News, and 10 for 10 wraps up the week. So get up on a Saturday morning, have a great cup of coffee, and check out 10 for 10, the podcast which gives you the week's top compliance news. Are you interested in upping your game in compliance through the use of AI and machine learning technology? Well, check out my latest book, Upping Your Game, How Compliance and Risk Management Move to 2030 and Beyond. You can check it out in the show notes. I've got a link to the purchase at Amazon.com. Upping Your Game. 10 for 10 for the week ending August 16th, 2025. The first story today comes to us from Reuters, which is a very interesting article about a huge case in the attorney-client privilege realm. This involved the Illinois utility FirstEnergy and its massive bribery scheme in Ohio to get certain legislation passed. The issue was the board of directors had commissioned a report from a major, or investigation from a major law firm. And the question was whether its findings were shielded by the attorney-client privilege or work product doctrine. The trial court found it was not, because it was done for business reasons, not for anticipation of litigation. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the trial court's decision, and many corporations breathed a sigh of relief. The attorney-client privilege did not protect it, but the work product doctrine did. And so it's a really significant case. I doubt it will go to the Supreme Court, so it will probably become the law of the land. So I don't think there are any circuit splits on this. Next up, the Financial Times. More about the imbroglio of the Boston Consulting Group, or BCG, and their project to dislocate and relocate people in Gaza. Well, it turns out that 4 of the original team members who were assigned this project quit the team in the early stages, raising concerns about the project months before it spiraled into the current reputational crisis for the firm. The departures have become a focus for investigators looking into what BCG called its process failures surrounding the work. The firm has claimed that the partners leading the project obfuscated the reasons the team members left, and indeed obfuscated what the project was about going forward, and that's why they allowed them to do so. Whatever you might call it, it was a huge error by BCG, and it shows a clear lack of judgment by the partners in question, former partners, I should say, and process failure by the company itself. Next, from Politico, Albania, of all countries, has turned to the AI to beat corruption and perhaps even join the EU. So while the rest of Europe bickers over the safety and scope of AI, Albania is tapping it to move up in its accelerate its EU ascension. It is even mulling an AI-run ministry. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. The premier, or prime minister rather, has said one day the company might even have a ministry entirely run by AI. So Albania wants EU membership. It wants to get rid of its reputation around corruption, and it may do so through AI. Next up, from Al Jazeera, the 5th ex-Peruvian president has been jailed for corruption. Yes, 5 in a row. We're not number 5, we're number 1 because we're 5 in a row. So you have to wonder about the culture in Peru, which would not only allow but foster such corruption at the highest levels of the company. Then again, you might look at the United States. Next, from Just Security, what's the human cost of systemic corruption? Well, in Turkey, it was huge because of fraudulent construction projects and inspections done by the Turkish ministry in charge of building safety, which led to some 300,000 buildings collapsing in a 2023 earthquake. So as far back as the Kingfisher, they've been talking about corruption in the building construction trades, and this just proves that corruption kills. Our next story comes to us from the New York Post, which reports that Detroit Piston, that's an NBA basketball player, Malik Beasley, has broken his silence on the NBA gambling probe and has vehemently denied that he has been involved in gambling. This is, even though apparently such matters were on his phone, and the investigation is not a charge, and he's afforded the same rights as others to deny the claim. But evidence has led to his suspension by the NBA, so we'll have to follow that. Next up, Binance. Remember them? Largest crypto fine around money laundering in the history of the world ever, $4 billion, plus their CEO, CZ, went to jail. Well, guess who's asking for a pardon? Yes, CZ is chasing out of prison and mounting a pardon campaign on his own, backed by a sophisticated influence operation worthy of his high-profile predecessors. Of course, the reality is it's just a matter of money. How much will he donate to a Trump campaign? How much stock will he buy in Trump social media? Maybe even some Trump crypto. I would say the odds of CZ getting a pardon from Trump are 100%. And that just goes to show that the system for pardons is completely broken under this administration. And if he gets one, you can easily see Sam Bankman-Fried next in line, and probably Diddy as well. So Ghislaine Maxwell, who knows? But I would think that CZ is right in line with the rest. As we continue a theme of corruption at the highest level, the ex-First Lady of South Korea is arrested on corruption charges. Yes, Kim Ki-on-hee has been accused of accepting Chanel bags and other items as bribes. She is only the first former First Lady in the country to be put behind bars. Her president had previously been arrested on charges of bribery, stock manipulation, and political influence peddling. He tried, of course, to overthrow the current law or current government and declare martial law. He was failed in his chance to do so, but the endemic corruption at the very highest levels in South Korea appears to continue. Next up from the Financial Times. What do you do when somebody you don't like does something you don't like? Well, you take your ball and go home. Except if you're Elon Musk, you threaten to sue him. So Elon Musk has accused Apple of breaking antitrust rules and has threatened to sue Apple over how his X social media and Grok artificial intelligence tools are ranked in iPhone's influential app store. In other words, far down the list. Well, maybe it has something to do with anti-Semitism and that. Nevertheless, the tech billionaire has accused Apple of making it impossible for any AI companies besides OpenAI to reach the top ranking in the App Store. And our final story for this week's 10 for 10 comes to us from the Brennan Center for Justice. And they pose the question, what is political corruption and what can we do about it? It hurts ordinary Americans in concrete ways, and the risk has never been greater, particularly under this administration. Their abuse of public office for private gain is well known, and political corruption only harms ordinary citizens of the United States. So what can we do? Well, you can always try and throw the bastards out, but with the current political corruption in place and Trump's moves against Democratic cities, who knows if we'll have an election next. This is Tom Fox again. 10 for 10 is a special production of the Compliance Podcast Network. I'd also urge you to check out the Daily Compliance News, which posts every week from Monday to Friday, where I give 4 curated stories of bribery, corruption, and compliance events that will allow you to help you start your day as well. So check out the Daily Compliance News and subscribe or rate and review to both 10 for 10 and the Daily Compliance News. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of 10 for 10. I hope you'll check out the newest podcast in the Compliance Podcast Network, the Compliance Tip of the Day. In Compliance Tip of the Day, I give a 5 to 8 minute summary of one tip that you can integrate into your compliance program or put together for greater compliance program efficiency. Finally, if you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, I am preparing a new season of Adventures in Compliance where I go through the 4 novels of Sherlock Holmes. Hear it on the Compliance Podcast Network.